welcome everybody to Warrior Talk. And this is a stellar show today. I'm so excited that we have Avi Lipkin here, and he is coming straight from Israel, like Brant said. Avi, I love you. I'm so happy to have you here.
Hey, I've been waiting for this quite a few weeks because I know that Brand said to me we would do it. So we're doing it. I'm very happy.
Yes. Well,
I feel like singing that song. I love you, Avi. Everyone loves Avi, man. It's so good to see your face, my friend. Avi and I go live, on cable and TV networks and the internet every Wednesday morning at 9 a.m. Central. And of course, you already see Heather on GLC now with Warrior Talk. But we're going to get Heather involved in more of those live casts globally, nationally, regionally, locally anyway. Heather's not only an incredible artist and a fantastic interviewer. I think that she could do television just as easily as she does her music. But Heather, you have a lot to say, and you're very intuitive. You hear a lot in your spheres of influence, but I'm honored to be with both of you today.
yes. And Avi, we treasure the time that you're making for us because we know that you're very, very busy. There's a lot of stuff going on in Israel. Listen, I've done some of my homework, but the reality of it is, Avi, we don't always get the truth here in America.
Seldom.
What I hear from my friends in the United States when I'm here in Israel is that it's not that they don't get the truth. The people in the United States don't get any information at all. In other words, they have me on different Zoom programs because I tell them simply, like a news announcer, I tell them what is happening on the battlefield, what is happening with Gaza, what is happening with Lebanon, what is happening with Iran. But I also tell things about what's going on with the U.S. Administration under Biden. And Americans don't even know the inner workings of the State Department and Biden and the things that the Israeli government has to contend with. In other words, we're supposed to be the ally of the United States, and yet Biden is backing Hamas, and Biden is backing Hezbollah, and Biden is backing Iran. A lot of things really, they don't add up unless it's all down to one word, and that's, some people say, elections. I would say more it's one word, treason, because Hamas is a form of Nazism. And Biden from day one was saying to Israel, go get him, finish him off. Now Biden is saying, don't touch Hamas, leave it alone. And in other words, Biden is the ultimate defender of Nazi Gaza, of Nazi Hamas. The only word that can describe this is treason. Treason to the United States, because Israel is the ally. Israel is doing the fighting for America. And I think Iran, if they had nuclear weapons, God forbid, they would be the enemy of the United States and enemy of the world. Something is very, very wrong. From Denmark originally, I think Shakespeare once said there's something very rotten in the state of Denmark, if you know your Shakespeare. And I was in the Shakespeare Club in high school, by the way, so that's why I know.
I can see that.
Something very wrong going on in Washington. And all this campus crisis, Biden is equivocating anti-Semitism with Hamas and saying that the Jews are, well, I don't want to say what he says, but you all know what I mean. We have a problem with President Biden. And all of us in our hearts and souls here in Israel are really, really praying that God protect us until the elections in November. We really need Trump to win. Am I allowed to say that on your show?
You can say whatever you like. I started investigating Obama's Muslim Brotherhood as a counterterrorism reporter in 2010. And the people I was interviewing around the country in the United States were wearing disguises because the DNC threatened their lives. So, the guy that's posing as Biden has no more sense. I personally think that's an actor. And whether it's Biden himself or not, I don't know. I don't care. I followed Biden since the 80s. I personally do not believe that that's the same guy, but that's just me. But no one around the world believes he was duly elected. And of course, the Rockefeller brothers funded this coordinated protest during this election year. So did Soros. So did the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation. They also funded it as well. You notice the matching tents on all the campuses, and you walk up to these kids, and
Yes.
they, I'm sorry, but they're as ignorant as they come. They have no idea what an intifada means, but they're screaming it. But it's the professors. It's the professors and the universities that take millions from the government, but they also take millions from you. And they propagate a Marxist ideology. And if you notice, as of late, Columbia University canceled its graduation ceremonies, and for good reason. But I think the average American is just about there. We're sick and tired of it. There's no trust in our leadership. There's no trust in our media. That's why I'm so happy that you're with us today, Avi.
I wanted to add something which I know I shared with you on your program with DLT. If you remember Nikita Khrushchev, who was the leader of Russia in 1960, and he came to the United States and spoke at the UN. You remember when he was banging his shoe on the table, and he was saying that your children, America's children, and its children's children will grow up as communists, and they would be communists. And of course, nobody took him seriously. And one of the important points is that after the Bolshevik Revolution in 1917, 1819, the Bolshevik plan was to take all of Europe and make it communist. And they invaded Poland. My grandfather was a sergeant in the Polish army fighting the Soviets. So I'm very close to the story about the Soviet invasion of Poland. But what they did was something else. They sent Soviet broadcasters or professors to Leipzig in Germany and to Frankfurt in order to take over the universities there. Now, you remember 1920, in the 1920s, there was the Weimar Republic. It wasn't Nazi Germany yet. And Weimar was open to the communist infiltrators, to the communist professors. When Hitler came to power in 1933, these professors had to flee. Where did they flee to? They fled to America. So the Leipzig school and the Frankfurt school came into America. And by the way, Roosevelt was a very good friend of the communists, believe it or not. He was a socialist. And these professors in 1933, 1930s, 40s, they took over the American universities step by step. It's something that went silent. It was something that was quiet. And what we see since 1940 is that the universities in America have a leadership. It used to be a communist leadership doing the bidding of Moscow, but now it's a globalist leadership together with the Muslims, because the Muslims have the money. Globalists also have the money and want the money. But where's Christianity? Hey, listen, I'm a Jew, and I'm telling you guys, you've got to get your act together. Christianity is completely ignoring the challenges of the globalists and the Islamists. And so something has to be done. And if you look at the campuses, you see very clearly that, firstly, half the people demonstrating are not university students. And the others they're either communist or Muslim. So we have a very, 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 very big problem in America. And unfortunately, I'm going to say something, and I don't know who's watching this program. I don't want to be called an anti-Semite. There are Jews who are anti-Semites, and I am not an anti-Semite. But 66% of the Jews of America vote Democrat. 34% vote Republican. So 1/3 vote Republican, 2/3 vote Democrat. And I had a meeting with a neo-Nazi. Remember, I told you the story about my meeting with a neo-Nazi. And he said, when the Civil War breaks out in America, and we're very close to this pandemonium, this anarchy in America, that will bring about a civil war, this neo-Nazi said to me, we're going to kill all the Jews in America. And when he said that, I got up from the table, excused myself. I said, listen, you're a nice guy, it's fun to talk to you, but when you say kill all the Jews in America, that's a Holocaust. And I wrote a letter about this to the president of Israel. I said, there's going to be a Holocaust in America. And at first he didn't answer me. Then I sent him another letter, very angry with him. And so he said, thank you for your letter. And then 2 weeks later, there was an article or a report in the Israeli radio Reshet Bet where they said that Israel has an emergency plan for the evacuation of 500,000 Jews from America who otherwise will be slaughtered in America during the Holocaust. So exactly what I wrote to the president of Israel was written up about in the Israeli radio. I'm trying to get invited to the Israeli TV stations, and they don't want to hear about it because Israelis, because of the educational system here, hate American Jews. And we have to prepare for the massive immigration of American Jews to Israel and Christians, because the Jews marry Christians in America. 80% of marriages in America are intermarriages with Christians. We hate you till we marry you. I'm telling you, so I see this because 35 years I've been in the churches. And you guys are all cut from the same cloth. You're the most wonderful, loving people I've ever seen. On the other hand, the Jews won't let me talk. Jews don't want to hear a word I'm saying. So it's very, very important for me that the Christians, number one, have a revival, and number two, get ready to defend the Jews when the time comes that the neo-Nazis, the Muslims, Black Lives Matter, and Antifa come to kill the Jews. And they're going to come to kill the Jews because everybody has weapons. And nobody's going to defend the Jews. It's a crazy situation. I see it because I'm there in the States 35 years, sometimes up to half a year. Now I've been in Israel here because of the war. But I'm telling the people on the TV, and they're very provincial. They're very narrow-minded. They don't have a clue about what's about to happen in the States. But I founded the Judeo-Christian Bible Bloc Party to run for our parliament here in Israel because we have to have an alliance program with the Christians and the Jews together. And I don't know, maybe I'm crazy, but I'm all alone. I feel like I'm very much alone. It's a very frustrating thing.
Oh, I can only imagine, Avi. That's just, America has always been, to as long as I have been alive and have been aware of what's going on in America, our government has always backed Israel, always. And now it's apparent to anybody that this is not the case anymore. It doesn't matter what your nationality is, what your religious belief is. We're falling apart, and we're being infiltrated by the enemy, and not just the Muslims and all that, but I'm just talking about Satan. He is getting a foothold on America, and it breaks my heart, Avi. The Christians, I believe, should rise up and pray. Prayer is a huge, powerful thing, and God hears us when we pray. And sometimes I don't understand why you see everybody. I'm getting on a rant, Avi. But I don't see, people are just going to and fro, just living out their life, acting as if nothing is wrong. And that it's like, well, it's not affecting me, so why should I care? That's what hurts my heart. We don't have a caring people anymore in America. They're all self-centered. And that's why everything is falling away.
It says in Deuteronomy that our hearts, or your hearts, all of us together, our hearts will become fat. We will become so content and so blessed that when God tells us to do something, we will kick back. This is in Deuteronomy. And so God is it's a poem in the Deuteronomy. It's going to be a horrible time. God always chastens us when he sees that our hearts become too fat and we kick back. And then there's a revival, Jew and Christian, there's a revival. But then after things get straight, and then God straightens it out for us. And then when he straightens it out, our hearts become fat again.
Yeah.
But it almost seems like America, well, it doesn't almost, it does. The same thing for Israel too, Dave. The cycle, like in the book of Judges, sin led to slavery, led to sorrow, led to supplication, and then finally salvation. God would send a judge, a deliverer, but sooner or later, right back into sin, idolatry, slavery, into sorrow, supplication, salvation, over and over again. America has been there. Israel has definitely been there. And of course, it's time. We're seeing the sorrows. I'm not sure we've seen the sorrows quite yet enough to be in supplication, but the silent majority needs to become the loud majority. But this media
Yes.
has lied to its people. The Black Lives Matter, that was originally Black Lesbians Matter. And Soros gave them millions. Of course, they stole millions and played America and played Black America yet again, just like Obama played Black America. The largest unemployment of blacks in our history under Obama, the largest employment of prosperity in blacks in history under Trump. And then once Biden crashes the economy, now the largest employment of black. Well, you drive a car into a ditch and then pull it out, missing a few tires. That's not success. And that's definitely not building back better. That's very calculated. Unfortunately, a lot of this started, people want to blame Obama. No, you need to blame George Bush Sr., who adopted him pretty much when he was 6 years old. And, his CIA assassin leader in Indonesia was Obama's father. So this goes back further than you think, folks. I mean, even Nixon separated America into 10 quadrants with czars. Did you know that? So this has been a very long-term plan. And again, the media pitting us against each other when really, you being a Sovietologist officially, Avi, among other things, you've seen the same patterns. China, Venezuela, the list goes on. The same thing they're doing in China, they're doing here in America. So many Christians in China. I produced their news for 3 years, the persecuted church in communist China. They were saying, our pastors said, don't worry, the rapture will happen first. Don't worry, nothing bad will happen. That's false. And American pastors, I call upon you to speak the truth. Don't let that 501c3 be a noose around your neck and make you a coward. Speak the truth and speak it
Yes.
in season and out of season. A lot of pastors I know, you're the real deal and you do speak the truth. And I'm glad that you do. But I tell you what, most of them do not in the terms of Israel and how important it is, because as goes Israel, so goes the world. We named our show after that, Avi, originally. But what would you tell people right now? They're like, look, hey, we're on board. What can we do?
Well, firstly, I would say that the pastors are the key. The pastors have the ability to mobilize the masses. The pastors have the ability to create media outlets, radio, TV, newspapers. If they are led by the Lord, then they have to do these things because nobody else will. Politicians won't do it. The rabbis and the Jews don't want to know anything about anything. America is the greatest country club for the Jewish people in history. It's the Christian pastors who have to mobilize the media. I'll tell you another thing. It may sound very mundane, but I think as I was a young kid and I went to public school from 8 to 3, and then from 5 to 7, I went to Hebrew school. I think Christian kids should go to public school. Don't run away from the public schools. But the churches should offer a Christian after-school high school, which is what I went through as a Hebrew school, and to teach the things according to the Bible. You cannot demand public schools teach the Bible, but you can organize an afternoon session for kids. And I think there are enough parents led of the Lord to send their kids to these afternoon high schools. They can do them in the churches. You don't have to build big buildings. A lot of these churches are big enough buildings already, but fill them up with classes every day. There should be adult education. Adults also are lacking the information. So, the churches can offer so much if the pastors have the guidance of God. And I know what I went through in the Hebrew school, and my rabbi was never really around very much. We had Israeli Hebrew teachers who taught us the history of Israel, but these were things that were never taught in public school. And you know what? I'll get into a lot of trouble for saying it. Israel belongs to you guys too. Israel is not just of the Jews. And the Bible Bloc Party's purpose is to unite the Jews and Christians to strengthen the land. I have to give you some breaking news. I'm not changing the subject, but you'll see. I said to you that I believe that ISIS is going to overtake Saudi Arabia, kill the king, kill the royal family, and reestablish the caliphate. Instead of Syria and Iraq, it's going to be in Arabia. It was in the news this morning only once, 6 a.m., that the king, the son of the king of Saudi Arabia, Mohammed bin Salman, the one who wants to make a Disney World at Mount Sinai,
Right.
The motorcade was ambushed, and dozens of his guards were killed. Somehow he came out of it unscathed. But what have I been saying? They're going to kill the royal family. Who's behind it? Iran and Qatar. I mean, you don't have to be a genius to know these things. And so I'm talking and talking and talking. Nobody is listening. But Saudi Arabia is going to fall. Jordan is going to fall. It's all going to be ISIS. And then you know what? The enemies, which are Syria, Lebanon, and Iran, they're going to come whining, crying, and complaining because they're Shiites, and the ISIS people are going to come and slaughter them. And Israel's right in the middle of all of this. And the Christians are going to be slaughtered unless the Jews protect them in Syria, in Lebanon. So I see so many things bubbling like a volcano about to burst. And everybody is in La La Land. And it's not just the Christians. The Jews are in La La Land. Jews are having a ball, going to synagogue. And synagogue is a social club for the Jewish people. So I'm just saying there's a lot of work that has to be done. Christians have to get educated. Jews have to get educated. And we have to start marching together. And no more of this hatred business. Christians hating Jews is anti-Semitism, but Jews hating Christians is anti-Semitism.
Yeah.
I've been saying this for 35 years. How old are you, Heather? 18?
Yes.
I could be your daddy.
Well, Avi, the Bible said these days would happen. When I was a boy, I never dreamed that all the nations would come against Israel. Surely America would never do that. Well, you have Biden funding Hamas, funding Hezbollah, funding Iran, telling Israel not to attack Iran, their oil installations because China needs them. And so, he's a Biden, he's a China, I'll just say it, he's a piece of garbage. And so are his supporters.
It's called treason.
It's called treason, folks. And, we I know that's a harsh statement, but knowing what we know now, you still support that, then you are either an illegal with your $1,000 a month UN card and your $3,500 a month from Biden and your free health care and free education, while children starve in the States on the weekends because school is out. If you still support that and you support the party that sacrifices babies to Moloch, then I put you in that category too. And you can call me and I'll tell you to your face, 870-582-5267, 870-582-5267. I'll be happy to talk to you. But we got to wake up. We got to man up. We got to warrior up, and we got to stand up for Israel and let our voices be heard. And we got to pray for Israel. I don't mean to be that harsh, Heather, but it is what it is. You're going to wait till you're in line at the FEMA camp to wake up? Probably not. The hardest reality is that there are those who are just destined to be lambs to the slaughter. They're sheep, and they will follow whatever they're told to do and settle for less. But you know what? We need Americans to rise up. Heather, you have a great audience with the Cowboy Church. That's the hope that I have in America, are the Cowboy churches and some others too. But they don't struggle with gender. They don't struggle with masculinity. They don't struggle with following the Bible. And so I call upon the cowboy. It's been said, on a famous, I'd call him a modern day prophet on his deathbed, but Smith Wigglesworth, that the next great revival will be through the cowboy. So with all that said, Avi, we stand with you. I don't know a cowboy church pastor who doesn't stand with Israel. And if Wigglesworth is correct, then it looks like it's up to you, cowboy church pastors, and you pastors who are brave enough and courage enough that you will not be threatened by a non-elected entity called the IRS to take away your 501c3, you can speak the truth with boldness, and you need to right now on behalf of Avi and on behalf of Israel.
And Avi, I just want to say there, you said that you feel alone, and I know that you're not just talking about you. But there are a lot of people. This show has a little bit different audience. So we really wanted to introduce you to this audience. We have a lot of people that will take everything that you have said today and commit it to prayer. And they will also be lifting you up. And Avi, I know you say you just really are not comfortable coming back to America, but I want to extend my invitation to you. You and your family are always welcome in my home. And there are a lot of people online right now that are speaking words of encouragement to you, Avi. And I have one guy, Dan Stanley, that said, "Cowboy up." And that's
There you
what we
go.
intend to do. We've got to be the difference. And I hope that I've heard that prophecy for a long time, Brant, that Smith Wigglesworth has said that that's where the revival will come, from the heart of the cowboy. And that's my venue, Avi. So I hope and pray that that is what happens. But all Christians, we have to unite. If we love God, we have to love Israel and Avi Lipkin and everyone else that is a child of God set apart by him for a special purpose. We're supposed to be united. We don't have a choice. If we're going to love God like we're supposed to, we have to love Israel. I grew up, Avi, as a Christian, knowing that the Jewish people were God's chosen people. And because I loved God, I automatically loved you. And I mean, maybe I have a childlike faith, but it's still pure and it's right. And if we can get people's hearts to turn back to God where it needs to be, you will have a whole lot of people backing you, you know?
Quote the New Testament in Romans 15, I think it is. It says that we Jews and Christians together are the olive tree. The Jews are the
Yes.
roots, and the Christians are the branches. And you know what? That olive tree cannot live without roots, and it cannot live without branches. And I want you to know there are a lot of Christians who don't like to hear it, and there are a lot of Jews who don't like to hear it. Because Jews think that they're exclusive, and some Christians think they're exclusive and can't work together. But God's going to kick us all, how they say in the cowboy language, and they're going to kick us in the butt if we don't wake up and start loving each other, stop hating each other. And it's been 2,000 years like this. This has to be fixed. So, I'm 75. I don't care if I live another day. If God wants me alive, I'll be alive, and I'm going to continue preaching this. The Jews and the Christians must march together to save America and to save Israel and to save the world.